Yeah, like I am in Newark.
Nilesh is in too.
Yeah, Nilesh is
Hey
in.
guys.
I came in Newark today. Today, my dad I connected.
Hey guys, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Talk to you later, brother.
All right. Talk to you later.
Hey, hello everybody. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Okay, good, good, good. Good.
Wi-Fi, yeah. Contact.
Hey guys, we are about to start in just a minute or so. We will start momentarily. Hope you can hear me just fine.
Okay, Nilesh.
Cool. Hey, Muhammad, the other Muhammad. We have now two Srinivasas and two Muhammads. So, Muhammad, can you hear me okay?
I can hear you, Nilesh. Can you hear me?
Yes, yes, good. Thank you. Good to know.
Thank you.
Good
Hey,
to know.
I just had a problem logging into Slack. What's the password?
The password is you decide. I will send you invitation. You should have an invitation already. You create the password. The domain is to
Okay.
So if you are having trouble with the password, I can reset that or maybe help you how to do it yourself.
No, I have the email from Slack. Maybe it's just a temporary password.
So try creating an account and see if you can come online. Slack chat will be very useful because that is the place where we post links and interesting tidbits of information, ask questions, answer questions, things like that. Okay. So let us see if Paul Rosen is asking, is there a verification code for Cloud Genius Workstation? I must have missed it. I think Paul's question is in response to one of the exercises that we have, and I will clarify. I think I will mention that. I'm pretty sure that is the reference that Paul has in mind when he's asking for a verification. So I will do that. I think there is some noise coming from some machine. I would like to mute that machine, and I think he or she is muted. So, okay, great. Now let us confirm this thing with Paul Rosen is asking for a verification code. So I will describe the problem and then answer his question. First of all, the idea behind verification comes from this fact that I have an exercise somewhere in the learning sequence or the reference material. And I know many of you have already done those. That is awesome. I'm happy to see that most of you have actually completed. And in one of those exercises, or somewhere in the notes, I'll pull it up. Let me bring it up front so I can also refresh my memory. And so the comment is actually coming from the fact that we go here and look at this workstation, which happens to be a large OVA file. And in that, the topic that Paul is looking at is actually described in the module somewhere here. Let's go there. I'm trying to find it. It should be in this location where we are talking about security. And where is that? Yeah, fingerprint validation. That's the topic. Module number 6, unit number 2. That's the question I think Paul has. And so apparently I need to log in before I can access it. So I'm going to log in and then come back to this site. which is what I'm doing right now. And once I log in, I should be able to see the question. Hold on. I need to do something different apparently, which is log out. Something wrong. Something is wrong. I must have logged in with somebody else's authorization. So I need to clear my browsing data, remove my passwords, and off we go. So we are clearing the whole thing up. Now logging in again and log in. And this time it will let me log in like this. And now I will go to that same exact module number 6, unit number 2 question, which Paul has. And I will, for the purpose of everybody's understanding, I will clarify what the topic is and then answer your question, Paul. So the topic is about verification of authenticity. And so the difference between what you think you got and what you actually got when you download something from the internet. Like, for example, you might have received this large object called the OVA file from the internet, right? This thing you must have downloaded. And the idea is to make sure that this thing did not get corrupted or is not actually, it is actually the one that I intend to give you. So I am the source of this file for you, and that nobody else is actually pretending to be somebody from Cloud Genius trying to give you that OVA with a virus infected and all that. You want to eliminate that possibility. So you want to actually make sure that the item you are getting is trusted. And that trusting relationship can be established through verification. Verification happens in many different ways, and the 2 different ways that I have described are MD5. And another one I have described is SHA-1. And so the idea behind these 2 different methods of verification, I'm assuming that you have already done this portion. Like I mentioned the last time, many of you have done it. So those who have not done up to module number 6 on your own time, let us talk one-on-one later on, not right now. But I'm assuming that you have finished all up through module number 6. And that is what I am actually describing right now in our handwriting that I'm doing here, is that these 2 methods of verification, you need to verify the content, whether it is trusted and actually matches what the source intended to give you, because the source can give you something. So this is the source and this is you. And so you receive something from the internet, and it may not be exactly matching what the source intended to give you. And so therefore you should go back to ask the source, what is that verification code? How do I verify whether this thing that you sent me, the OVA file, for example, is actually the same what you received? And that verification happens through, for example, MD5. So what I will do now is to give this verification code to everybody, all of you. And I will actually identify that file, go to that location in my computer, which is the source. And in my computer, I will look for the workstation, which is this folder. And here I will calculate the MD5 sum myself. So here's how we'll do it, MD5, and then the file name, which happens to be this file. And I will compute the MD5 sum and give it to you. And so that is what Paul is asking me for. I will give Paul this answer. Paul has already downloaded that virtual workstation OVA file. So this MD5 result is what I will need to give Paul. Paul will also run the same result and then compare whether the number or output that I get matches the output that he gets. And that is how will be one of the ways that you can verify whether the workstation OVA file you received is exactly binary comparison, exactly the same that I intended to give you. And that is what Paul is discussing. And that is what is mentioned in this verification discussion, is what we have in our lesson here in the module number 6. One of the things we are talking about is this fingerprint validation. And here I'm describing how to do it in Windows, how to do it in Linux. And there are some question answers here that are happening, and that requires the value I need to provide. And that is what I'm doing right now, is calculating the MD5. It did not somehow finish. So I'll do it again. MD5. Come on, MD5 sum. No, it's MD5. Calculate. And in another window, I will calculate the OpenSSL SHA-1 sum also. And this is how the source person who's creating those files, OpenSSL, SHA-1, and then the Cloud Genius workstation, these two methods of computing those indices that are needed to make a clear understanding whether that file that I gave you, I mean, this exact file is exactly the one that you have or not. The calculation seems to be taking a little bit of time, probably because my computer is busy doing other things like interacting with you. So I need to find out how long will it take for the result to come. And apparently it is still doing that MD5 task. And so let it finish. It'll finish and I'll give you that generated result. Like right now, you can see that the result has finished. And now we have this MD5 sum, which is here. And so that is the answer I'm going to paste in Slack chat for MD5. And the answer happens to be this. And the SHA-1 sum, and the answer happens to be here. So I'll take those two results and paste it over in Slack chat. So you get to see the results. You can compare the results on your own. Excuse me. So the idea is that you are able to match this exact string when you do OpenSSL SHA-1 verification, or that exact string here, all the way from 4 echo all the way through 9 foxtrot. This string of characters is what you should also see coming up on your side when you're doing a MD5 validation on this target that you receive from this method of download, which is what you did. And that is what Paul is asking for. That happens to also be one of the exercises in this sequence, which is module number 6, which quite a bit of you have already done. So I'm happy about it. So by the way, thank you. Thank you for following through. Thank you for reading through the material that we have. And that is just beautiful. So I hope that answers your question. Now, going back to seeing if there are any further questions before we begin. Okay, there are questions.
Just a question, Nilesh. Can you hear me?
Yes.
In the workstation folder, are we expected to see any recording content or any other PDFs you were mentioning, or where else would we?
So the recording of videos come in a different folder that looks like this. And so there are these 4 items in that folder, which is a different link. I'm going to generate that link for you right now one more time, and then copy it and paste it in Slack chat. And I would like you to hit that link. And when you do, you will see that a new folder pops up, which is different from the workstation folder. So the new link is going to look like this on the right side. And on the left side, you see the workstation folder. So in the new folder that will come up momentarily, this contains recordings from the June 1, June 3, and a recap of June 1. So that's what we have up until now. We have a June 1 incomplete recording. We have a June 1 recapitulation. Then we have the June 3rd recording. And by the way, today's session is also being recorded. So you should validate that I am actually recording by looking at your Zoom screen and telling me that you see that this session is actually being recorded. So you should see that. And if you don't see this notification that I'm recording, please tell me so that I can make sure that it is indeed getting recorded and I do not mess up like I did the other day. And so end of the day today, I will have one more recording right here in this location. And that is where we will have the recording for today. I see that Srinivas has clicked on the link I gave him. and that is how you will receive those videos, and they will populate in your folder like this. So like you see here, that's where videos will come. And on the left side, you see this, that's where the workstation is, and it is separate. This workstation is meant for public usage. Anybody can download it. It's a public download. That is why it is separate. These downloads are meant for you. They may not go to public. When I say may not, it might go to public, by the way. So whatever we have in the recording, I might actually make it public, but I'm not doing it right now. That's why this folder is separate. Okay. Now I have confirmation from Paul that it is showing as recording, which is nice. If you have any questions on this MD5 generation or OpenSSL SHA generation, please tell me. There are more such methods in which you can do it like that, and verification is a standardized approach in any kind of software distribution as you see in the internet. Now, having said, let us talk about a couple of things. One of the things I want to talk about today is that you have some goodies to use, and so I have given some passwords for you. All of you should see passwords for yourself. Please do not take other people's passwords. Each one of you have a unique password assigned and a unique login name. Now, what do you do with them? That's the first question. And why do I give it to you? That's another question. And what is it? That's the third question. So I'll answer those questions quickly. So there are these two big companies. One of them is this company, and another one is this company. Now, what they do is provide access to cloud services, such as you may have heard of this thing called Google Apps for Business. Or you may have heard of Office 365. These are 365. These are software as a service available for businesses and institutions. So both these companies are kind to give access to Cloud Genius for their applications like this and this. So both of them are kind enough to give us access to accounts, to everybody who's participating as a student in this program. And through them, what I have done is enabled you an account, which has a couple of benefits that may be interesting. Not all things are interesting, but here are some benefits. One of them is that if you go to drive.google.com, you will find that through this Google Drive, you will have unlimited storage. I just said that, unlimited, as in infinite storage available to you if you are using this login name in Google Drive. That's a benefit to the students that are participating in this program. And there is no charge, it is free, it is going to be yours as long as Google decides to continue to give us that benefit. You have it. That's one thing. In addition to that, if you look at Google Apps for Business or Education, to be specific, all these apps that you look at here in the listing, they are available for us. So get the Google products. You can see all these products like Classroom, Gmail, Drive, Calendar, Docs, Sheets, Slido. You probably know these things. All these software applications are available to you already through the login that I just gave you. And that continues to be with you even after the program, by the way. So as long as Google decides to give you and give us access, you will have it. They will give you in unlimited storage. Just use it legally for lawful purposes. It doesn't have to be related to Cloud Genius. It can be anything that you want to do. Just keep it lawful, and you are welcome to use it. That's the benefit from Google. So we want to thank them. The next benefit is provided to us from Office 365 for all the people that are participating in this program. And through them, we have Office 365 suite of applications available to us at a subsidized rate. We don't have to pay them anything. So yes, I pay, but you don't have to pay. I pay them some amount, but for students, I think it is. Some services are free. You should find out what services are free, what are not. But that is something that I would like to make sure that you're aware of, is that you can benefit from these services that these guys provide to us And to students, large number of things are free. And so I suggest that you may want to consider using it if it is appropriate for your scenario. You don't have to spend money to do this. There is no need to buy anything. I am not selling. It is just a benefit that Microsoft has decided to give educational institutions, and you are welcome to use it. Okay, two things that just finished. So next one. On your own time after the session, try logging in. If you don't succeed, email me, call me. There are instructions available, and you can make use of as you feel like. So both Google and Microsoft are kind enough to provide those for us, so we thank them. Next one. These are software as a service, meaning they will have their own infrastructure, and on top of their own infrastructure, they might run some kind of a platform that they may be using, and on that platform they have installed software, and this software is what is available as a service. So what I would like to ask you is see if you can enumerate, and we'll not spend too much time on this, but I just want to make sure that I cover the base, is that give me some examples of software as a service that you already know. Just shoot names or type names if you like. If you want to type or just speak in your microphone, anything is fine. Just speak some names of software as a service you know and use already. So I just give you
GoToMeeting.
GoToMeeting is another one. It's a meeting as a service, right? This Zoom thing we are using, it's another one. WebEx, another one. Then my product called Lync, Lync, that you may have heard of. It is now called Skype for Business. That is something that is also another service available. We have other things called Office 365, right? That's a software available as a service, meaning you can have Word, Excel, PowerPoint, OneNote, and all those services that you can think of from Office. For example, Office 365 gives us portal.office365.com. Let us see what do we get. What services do we get? So we log in. Then we have access to a collection of services from Microsoft as a part of their Office offering. And this is how large companies use. This is how even smaller companies use their infrastructure for their employees, for their partners, for their vendors, contractors. So, for example, all of you that are in the program right now, by the way, this Office 365 for Cloud Genius is a very new thing. Like yesterday, I received it, literally. So, we now have active users. All the users, all of us, right there. You see all of us. And it is really, really recent for me. So even I not have had time to explore all the capabilities and all the feature sets that Office provides to us from an educational institution standpoint. But it is probably very similar to what you would have seen already in your companies that you work for, or you may have experimented with it on your own. Okay, now having said, I know some of you may be interested in setting up your own domain with email services. And therefore, this thing comes in very handy, by the way. So if you are interested in that direction, these two are largest competitors, by the way, Google and Microsoft, that provide you and businesses of all sizes, email services, calendar services, team management, collaboration, communication, all these things are available from them for business productivity and collaboration. And if you're interested, if you want to go with Google, you hit that link. It is going to be free only for 30 days, by the way. Just remember, 30 days only. If you're interested in Office, you can get this for 30 days again, but for your own business. If you're going through Cloud Genius, it is absolutely free. If you want to run it on your domain, they will charge you. Just be aware that this is not a requirement. But having said, it is something that you need to be able to clearly understand how to configure, how to set up, what are the things that go along when you're setting up some software as a service. And a key thing that is important to understand, these aspects are actually related to DNS, which we covered a little bit last time. If you remember, we discussed this thing called domain name system. Some of you also asked me this question about what is Cloudflare and what do I do with it and do I need it and all that. And some people use GoDaddy, what are that? So these any company that sells you name, they will sell you a domain name. They will also give you this service for free, typically free. Most of them give you for free. And so you don't have to use this, but I do for a separate reason I'll talk about. In general, these name services or name servers that they provide, these companies provide, are essentially acting as an address book. An address book or directory, if you will. Depending on which part of the world you come from, you either call it address book or directory, in which we have a name and a number mapping. So last time we discussed the White House, and the number corresponding to it was 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, right? That translation between a name and a number is known as a record. A record or address record. It is the address record. That's where this name and number is associated. You probably understand this. If you do not, chat with me. And we know how to set it up. What we did the last time was we had an IP address, right? You remember we had an IP address and we gave it a name of badal.some domain. cloudgenie.us. That's the name we gave and associated this with the IP address we got from that box from some cloud company. I think it was DigitalOcean. So yeah, the IP address association with the name, this information gets stored in a file. The file is called zone file. And this file is a part of your DNS server. In my example that I was demonstrating, the DNS server and the zone file happen to be on Cloudflare. That is where my DNS server is. But you don't have to use this. You can have your own DNS server if you like. But the core idea is you put your name and associate with an IP address and put that in the zone file in your DNS name server, and you're done. So everybody on the internet can then understand what this name corresponds to. And that constitutes an A record. It stands for address. Similarly, there are other types of records. For example, MX records or CNAME records. And there are more. We'll go through them at appropriate times whenever we run into the need of studying them. But in this, somewhere here in the notes, where is that? Here, in the sequence, you will find some reference to it as to what these things are. So module number 7 describes it. I would like you to read it the next time, or maybe you already know it. Either way, there are certain things that are relatively new and not explained clearly, and that is something that I would like you to read and understand. Those aspects relate to MX records and CNAME records, and some related to SPF, or also known as, another one is DKIM. Those record types are relatively new for reducing spam. So spam reduction techniques are used, and we will discuss that when we get to a real life example as to how this thing is done. And since I understand that this particular group of people is, and correct me if I'm wrong here, but you probably are familiar with a decent level of depth in terms of what these things are. And that is how I understand. If you tell me otherwise, I will go into detail and explain to you what these things are and how we use these two types of records in this context of, say, Google Apps or Office 365. How do we use these tools to prevent or reduce? How do we reduce spam by using this and this? Or how do we construct and configure our own domain to map our email services with, say, Google or Office 365? You can do one of the two, not both. get to one or the other, not both. So my understanding is that this particular group already knows what I am talking about. And in that,
Not. I mean, you mean like what CNAME is and what? I never heard of this SPF and DKIM. So no, I know about CNAME is somehow connected to this DNS entries and but don't know in detail.
okay, so I understand. So what I would like to suggest is let us take this in the example of a domain that we want to then associate with one of these services, like Google or Office, and then understand how these things actually operate as opposed to I talk about it. So the thing that I don't like to do is just talk about it without showing you what it means and how it works. And that is why all those things that I don't like to actually waste your time is without showing you examples, I have them written down here. So when I don't need to be showing you, I would rather write it down and have you read. But if there is something that you want to, so if you want to see some very specific examples, like I heard Srinivas Sama saying that you do not really fully comprehend and understand where exactly these things come into play and where does SPF help reduce spam. I think that I can do. What I can do is maybe ask for a volunteer in this group to give me a domain name that you may have purchased for $1. Did you? Or did any of you purchase a domain name? Do you happen to have the access to that DNS server? Let us know.
Like I do have one.
Okay, that was Mr. Salam saying that he has a domain name, and that also the second question is you have access to a DNS server. Is that true?
Correct, yes.
Okay, so I'm assuming that your name is available with GoDaddy and that your DNS server is also with the same company.
Yes.
So what I would like to do is log on to your DNS and experiment with, say, Google as a business solution where you will get free for 30 days, right? So 30-day free offer they have, we will make use of that, after which they will ask you for money, and if you don't pay them, nothing happens. I mean, they won't haunt you for money. Are you interested in experimenting with this at least for a few days?
Yeah, sure. Why not?
Okay. So with this example in context, I would like to have a domain from Mr. Salam configure with Google services, for which I would like. I think there is some noise coming. I think it is from Mr. Salam's computer.
Yeah, because I'm in the guest house. So it's,
okay.
Yeah, I came. Today's the first day of Ramadan, so I came in New York City.
Okay.
So I am taking your call from here. So
I understand. So
I apologize for that.
No worries. So what I would like to do is maybe give me a way to access your GoDaddy, or you project and I'll just walk you through, or maybe do a remote control session or one of those methods.
Yeah, I'll give you my domain name so you can show everybody.
So before I actually do this, I want to ask that a reasonable number of us are actually interested in seeing this happening live, because it will happen. It will probably, I expect it to take about 30 to 45 minutes. And at that time, you will see Mohammad's domain configure completely with Google App Services.
Okay.
That will spend about 30 to 45 minutes is what I expect to take. Is that a good idea? Do you want to do this or you want to skip? That's the question I have for everybody.
You know what? I will skip now because it's it's time to eat now. My time is, I'm fasting now. Like I'm breaking my fast now.
I know. So if you want to do it later, I can help you do that. But
yeah, I'll do it later.
That's fine. In that scenario, what I would like to do is maybe not spend as much time as you need, but quickly highlight some of the key things on my own domain that I have already configured. So there is also a request from Paul Rosen on the same idea. And I think it is a good thing to talk about these things so that it becomes clear. So I will give you demonstration on my own domain. So let us begin that quickly. So since I already have control for my domain, I'll just show you what I'm talking about. So the domain name happens to be this, that you probably already know. And so this thing, whatever you have after this dot, is called a TLD, top level domain. You may have seen this .com, .us, .in, whatever you feel like these days, including, let us see, TLD, what do we get? So you can get top level domain, anything you like today these days. Like you may have seen hundreds of different proposed names that are available. For example, Google domain names. So let us see, domains.google. What do we get? Oh, they have a .google also there. See that? Domains.google. So you can get whatever you feel like. As long as you have enough money to spend, you can probably get whatever you feel like. So here is a domain name that is kind of crazy. It's .google of all things. So I have a question for you before I go into DNS. So you seen this thing, right? You just saw it. The domain name is .google. So like the domain name I'm using is this .us. So for example, have you seen .com? I guess so. What have you? Do you know what this thing is? ABC.xyz. Do you know what this thing is?
No.
No? Are you sure you don't know? Because I'm sure you know. I know that you know, but you don't know you know. And that is number 9. So just open it. See what you see. Tell me what it is. ABC.xyz. I'm pretty sure you know this. Open it up.
Again, it is HTTPS. Huh?
Yeah, it's the same thing.
Oh,
Same thing.
Alphabet. I see. I never saw that. Oh, it's Google's Alphabet. I see.
Yes, exactly. So see how nice and the domain is?
Oh, nice. Yeah.
Right. So you can, as long as you have enough money to spend, you can get whatever you feel like. That's a TLD, a top level domain after the dot. Right? This thing can be just about anything you feel like, except no .gov, no .mil. No, they're taken. .navy, taken, like that. Right? So military entities, government entities, they are taken. So as long as you want something else that is not there, you might spend some money and make it happen. And like Google did, abc.xyz for the Alphabet company, or domains.google for Google's domain services. And so what I did not have enough money to spend and waste. And by the way, this cloudgenius.com was taken. What did I do? I said, okay, let me put the dot right here. And that doesn't stop there, by the way. I have expanded it to make it this. And this is a call to action. And then I have put a HTTPS protocol, which is not a big deal, but it's an important thing. So the idea is I have this modified version that I have put in as an A record. And so this is an A record for my domain, which happens to be some IP address. That is where my computer lives. That's where my gateway lives to all the machines that actually serve the Cloud Genius site. My domain name happens to be this. And my TLD happens to be the .us. Right? Do you get that? I'm assuming you do. If not, stop me from proceeding forward. Next one. So let us see a couple of things. For A record, what I just told you was this A record is what I created. You can have www as an A record. Some people prefer other names. Like sometimes I will have any random character, any random string, dot, and www dot. These are example A records that you can create. And this .us is your TLD, top level domain. This is my domain name. And I can create anything I feel like absolutely any random string I feel like, by creating an A record. As simple as that. And then associate an IP address to that. And that's how it builds. So I can get this and this like that. I can just associate any IP address and then publish an entry in the zone file. Zone file. Sorry. zone file is a file in the DNS server. DNS server is most likely 99% of the times it is running this open source software. The name is Bind. It runs Bind. What is Bind? Bind is this. It runs the world's most widely used name server. That's what most companies use, except Microsoft. They have their own. Most companies will use this software to run your name server, including GoDaddy and Cloudflare and everybody else, and Google and all that. So the idea is, in here, if you want to run your own name server, you will take Bind, install it on a box, and that becomes your name server. So that's one concept. I want you to remember and understand the difference between name server and name service. So there is a name seller. The name server, it can be GoDaddy. These guys sell names. So when you buy some name, you go to GoDaddy or some other company. There are thousands of companies that sell names. GoDaddy is just notorious about selling names. I'm calling the word notorious because you know what I'm talking about. Then we have name servers. These companies like GoDaddy, they give you a DNS server for free. They give you for free because they want to keep you as a name customer. They are the name sellers. They want you to have your name there. That's why they give you this DNS server for free. Now, these two things are different. They don't have to be the same. So in my example, I have the name seller happens to be a company called namecheap.com. That's my name seller, but my DNS is not with namecheap.com, although Namecheap also gives you free name server. My DNS server is with Cloudflare. So that's just one example. So these two things, I want you to disambiguate and very clearly understand that the person sells you a name, also gives you a name server, but you don't have to use them. You can, but don't have to. Now, when you don't want to, you basically go to them and say, hey, GoDaddy, I don't like your name server. I'm going to use Cloudflare, and that is okay. Don't have to do it, but you can. And that is kind of sort of what I have done. Some people prefer that they use OpenDNS, and that is also okay. Some other people will prefer Amazon Route 53, and that is also okay. And so, hey, Mr. Salah, if I can mute you and keep you muted, that will be awesome, because there is some noise coming. So I just unmute yourself when you want to speak. Now, going back in this idea, what I'm describing, these DNS servers is where you keep the zone file. The zone file is a collection of records, like the A record. And like
I have one question, Nilesh.
Yes.
I was trying to transfer my DNS to any other company, and they locked me up. So is there any way I can ask GoDaddy to unlock my DNS?
So there are a couple of things you mentioned. You mentioned DNS, but you actually meant name, not DNS. I think you meant you want to transfer the name to another company, not the DNS. That's
okay.
That's
what I mean.
Be clear. So you want to transfer a name from GoDaddy to another company. You can do that, but enter
your participant ID, followed you are in the Zoom.
So who has a phone number of 1435? Is that one of us?
Oh, it's me. I just switched to my own phone.
Yeah, I just wanted to know who that person is. No worries. You can keep it active. So GoDaddy has any company where you buy a name, they will make you wait for at least 60 days or so before they let you transfer. That's one concept. You have a wait period. There's a wait period involved. The other thing is that when you want to transfer a name transfer, most companies will have a method of locking the customer. They will put the customer in jail. So you have to get out of jail. Getting out of the jail is Very, very simple. You just click a button somewhere. It is very, very hidden. It's very difficult to find.
Mm-hmm.
But that's a button to unlock yourself. That's easy. Once you find it, just a click and you unlock the domain. There's no big deal there. The third thing, when you transfer the name, when you unlock, they will give you a transfer secret. And the transfer secret is some number like this. You have to take that secret and give it to the other company. And then the transfer happens. So wait period, unlock the domain, get the transfer secret, and validate and go to the other company. That's how it works.
Okay, so there is a way then. Okay, got it.
Good. So these records go and sit in the zone file. As you know, zone file is basically a text file that the Bind software manages, and it keeps these records like MX record or CNAME record or other types of records. There are hundreds of types. Let us see how many types of records I have in my real live example. I'll go to cloudflare.com and then log in, and let us see what we got. So I think I have 93 records. So let us find out what records do I have. And I'm going to log in very quickly, sign in, and and so I'm signing in. I should get a token from that Cloudflare, and it will be Authy app. I see. So we have to go to Authy. Oh man, hold on. Authy is on a different computer, not on this computer. So I'll grab that Authy token for Cloudflare and then show you how I save my zone file and what records do I have, because I'll probably have all the records that I'm going to talk about already. And so I'm going to go to Authy and log into this thing called Cloudflare to demonstrate what I'm talking about. I'm waiting for this token to generate, and Authy is generating that token for me, and then I will type it here as soon as I get it. So the number is 3642697, and I should be in my DNS control panel. I have all these records. You can see a ton of A records. So these type of records, all of them, these are A. Then I have some C names, and then I have some more, second page, and I have some TXT records, some SRV records, some name server records, and some MX records, and more CNAME records. And then we have page number 3. I have some TXT records. So the totality of about 103 records, as you saw, 102 records, as you saw total in my zone file. So what you're looking at is my DNS entry in Cloudflare for this domain containing 102 entries like this. That's what you just saw. Now let us understand them very, very quickly on each one of those types. So I'm assuming that you know this A record business already. It was very simple. You have a name corresponding to an IP address, done. As simple as that. And you put that in the zone file, that was an A record, right? The other simple, very, very simple idea of a CNAME. A CNAME is like an alias. It's like Mohammed, right? Mohammed. And so the alias is Mo. Or you have Robert. The alias can be Bob, like that. So it becomes, or rather here, Srinivasa. The alias can be Srinasama. That's the alias we chose to use, right? So the aliases are simple versions of complex sounding names like Srinivasa Sama. So it can be a very difficult thing to spell for people. So we give them a simple spelling, Sama, and that becomes easier. Same with Robert, can be complex, and Bob is simpler. Sometimes people prefer the name Rob for various reasons. So these are aliases, and we know them through convention. So how do we set the convention for DNS? The idea is very, very simple. The idea is like this. Let's go find some CNAME records. So we'll go and identify some CNAME records for our case. So hold on, I think I'll just pull up an existing example, which is going to be here. So a good one will be here. Okay, let's take this. Let us see if it works. So before I show it to you, I want to test it. So I will test it right now by going to a terminal and opening it up in full screen, making the font a little bit bigger so you can see properly, and then dig. Dig is a generic command in Linux, Unix, which you will type a dig followed by some domain, and then the record type. The record type after that. That's how it works. Now, in our example, we'll say dig and then brand.cloudgenie.us, and then see if we can have a CNAME for that. So yes, we do. So we have a brand CNAME alias defined in the domain cloudgenie.us, pointing to a longer sounding complex name like this. So it's a big sounding name that is hard to say. So I have simplified it to be brand.cloudgenie.us. That's a way to simplify this longish name, Srinivasa Sama, compared with just Sama. That's how I have put this example. Now, where does this come in useful? The scenario would become useful when you go to calendar.google.com. It shows you my calendar. Now the actual rendering of this calendar will be something. I think we have an echo coming. So I'm going to mute Srinivas Sama, please. So I'm muting Srinivas. See if I can mute him. Okay.
Oh, I muted myself.
Okay, good. So that was the echo that I saw. So what I was talking about is this example of a alias. The alias comes from the fact that a longish sounding name, brand dot whatever can be simplified by a short name, brand. That's a simple one like Bob, and the long name Robert. So I did this because it is hard for me, my employees, my friends and partners and colleagues to remember this long string. So I simplify it by using a CNAME alias. That's the beauty of aliases. That's what we do when we say Bob and Robert. That's what we did here in the CNAME example. So there are more such examples that are more relevant that we will find when we are actually using, in this case of an example coming up in the sequence that we have. It's about platform as a service. That's where the CNAME will come in very, very handy, and you will realize and use it in actual example. That one is coming up in here, module 17. That's where you will find a CNAME reference. Let us see if we have it. Not listed here, but it is going to be here, where you will create. So you will play with DNS quite a bit, but I will like to make sure that you at least have a simple understanding right now, and then get to more complex examples as we do larger, more difficult exercises. So for right now, I think this discussion on CNAME is enough. We'll revisit this with a more concrete example that is relevant. The core idea behind CNAME is to make things simple, to remember, to understand, and to resolve as a name to some other resource on the internet. That's where these shorter versions come into play to correspond to a longish sounding machine generated domain names can be very long. Another example would be your AWS console, AWS Amazon.com, where you will have a method to generate a machine. And then when you generate the machine, you will find that when you, hold on, copy, did receive the code. And when you generate a machine, it probably gives you a longish sounding longish sounding image name. And I'll give me a second. I'll just actually show you as opposed to keep talk about. So I don't want to just talk about it. So when you generate a new machine, like say click EC2 and get a new machine created by launching an instance, as you probably saw in the previous session. When you launch an instance by selecting an operating system and you select a size and then you review and then you launch. When you do, after you select a key pair, you will find that it will generate a very long string of name that you can map it back to a simpler, more familiar machine name. So you, for example, create a my machine dot and then mydomain.com. That becomes a simpler name, and your machine name can have a really long Amazon EC2 machine name. So instance ID I-343.US West 2.aws.amazon.com. It can be something as complex as that. And to simplify it, you can make a simpler CNAME called my machine for your domain in your DNS zone file and save it. Then you don't have to remember all this long nonsense. You can just forget it and focus only on the line number 8. That's the beauty of CNAME. We will come to it in more relevant contextual examples at subsequent time. Next topic I want to quickly cover before we switch away from DNS is this idea of MX record and the associated spam reduction records. So let us see how email flows. So email flow. This is where MX records come into play. So you have in here, you are here. And this is me. And that is you. So you want to send an email to me. And so you know that my domain name is CloudGenie. And my username is Nilesh. So that is the email address you know. So you write an email on your iPhone. And here you write that email, you put the email address here and say, okay, send it. So when you send this email out from your iPhone, the mail goes out. And this goes where? Where will it go? It will look at this domain part and identify that this domain has a name server. That seems to be Cloudflare. So it will go to Cloudflare and ask, hey, what is your MX record? Where should I send this thing to? I want to send this thing out to somebody. Where should it go? And that's where it knows to go. And so you may have seen that these MX records, let's go and examine what do we have. So we'll go back to the terminal and then clean again and say, dig, Cloud Genius, please tell me what are your MX records? And boom, here it comes. So it shows that my MX records are all of them with Google. 1, 5, 5, 10, 10. These are priority levels. So if the first one fails, then it will take this one. If not, that one. If not, that one. So there are 5 levels of failures that you can happen. And if that happens, the email will get re-delivered after 24 hours if all of them fail. But these are the 5 machines that are backing each other up at various priority levels. And this MX record and this address is where the machine will attempt to send email to. And so this iPhone will transport that message out using your SMTP settings. Those settings may be on your phone, and your email server, you might have an email server that you may be using. Through that email server, it will send out that email to this MX record that becomes visible from this name server. So you'll find the MX record, and this MX record says go to Google. So the mail actually goes to Google and sits there. In there, it will identify this Nilesh part, and it will recognize that this domain belongs to a company that is hosting their email addresses and email systems on Google Apps for Education. Google Apps. That's what you just have an account on, all of you. So that's where I have my account as well. And that is where email sits for Cloud Genius domain. And so this email that your email server will send will look up this NS name server from Cloudflare for this domain, identify the MX records, and then transport it to Google. And that's where it will be arriving. It will sit in Google until something else happens. What will happen? Two ways. One of them is a push way. The other one is a polling way. So you can basically poll your email if you like, or fetch if you like. So push method is what most people deploy these days. So these two ways that you have, if it is push based, that email will automatically be pushed down to my iPhone. Because my iPhone knows to receive any email for this domain sitting in Google, it will automatically arrive here in the iPhone, automatically just pop up in my inbox. That's the push method. Sometimes people use the pull method, fetch method, or polling method. In that case, they will look up that server every so often. And whenever they do, that email will then come down to their boxes, to their machines, and then they will receive that email. So that's the mail flow. And to facilitate that mail flow for this domain, you have to have this record. And that record needs to belong to your domain's name server. In my example, it happens to be Cloudflare. And that is what everybody who's sending me email through their SMTP client, through their email servers, will transport that email out, and will arrive at Google, because this dig result shows that CloudGenius manages its email MX records in Google. Let us see. Dig Boeing.com. And where does Boeing manage their emails? Wow, how many machines we have? Or how many endpoints? 1, 2, 3, 4. So maybe about 10. So lots of different machines, some in Phoenix, some in Seattle, some in I don't know where, and some more in Phoenix apparently. So they seem to have lots of infrastructure where emails can arrive. I'm guessing this is Phoenix and this is Seattle. And I don't know what this thing means. But
St. Louis. St. Louis.
St. Louis, yeah. So it's not Seattle though, it's St. Louis. So yeah, they have machines spread out, and that's where machines are. These are the machines that will receive emails sent to Boeing company. And that's what this Boeing.com MX record shows. Now, where does Boeing keep the dig Boeing.com? Where does the NS name server sits? Let's find out. It sits in 3 locations: PHX, STL, BLV. So 3 locations where Boeing runs their own DNS server like this on your own domain. So they don't rely on Cloudflare. They just do it themselves. They're a big company, so they do it themselves. I am a small entity, so I rely on some other party to do it for me. Same thing with other big companies like Dig, Apple.com. And look at their NS server. They have tons of NS servers, like even more than Boeing. So yeah, so they probably have geographically redundant, multiple countries have their name server sitting. Let us also find out, where does Apple email go? Apple.com, company corporate email, MX records. These entries are getting pulled from the Apple DNS server. And you have these 3 IP addresses which show where the Apple email will land if you send an email to somebody in Apple company. And so that's the idea behind, and it's the same thing here. You saw already dig cloudgenie.us, and let's go find out the name server where it belongs. And it goes to Aaron at Cloudflare and Gabe Cloudflare. These are 2 machines, by the way. They are acting as my name servers, and that's where the name server zone file sits. That's what you see here in this. Where is Cloudflare? Yeah, here. Did I log out or something? No, log in again. Yeah. So this DNS server that you see with 102 records, that entries are actually in these 2 machines that are managing the DNS entries that you see here. Now, if I further go and ask this question, DNS, dig the cloudgenie.us and show me the MX records for it, you will see answer is Google. That basically tells everybody that email that you want to send to anybody in Cloud Genius needs to go to Google. Understood? But just 30, 45 minutes ago, I told you that all of you have Google accounts as well as Office 365 accounts. I must warn you that the Office 365 setup is like really, really new. So the email does not go here. I have disabled it. The email goes to here. That's where it is going for many, many years. So it goes to Google. It will continue to go to Google. I don't intend to change it away. It will keep going, not here. So I just want to tell you that I have no intention of moving my email to Office 365, even though all of us have it on both places, here as well as here. I do not intend to move. I just have access to other resources. For example, here, this is the OneNote class notebook that I will talk about momentarily. And this is just, as a side note, I'm saying that this is something that may be useful to us. So we will use it. If we don't find it interesting, we'll just delete it. So all of us now have access to a sheet in which you can interact with me, and we have a content library, and we don't know what to do with it yet because I haven't actually used it, but it is available. So it's like a 2-day-old account. So we'll not worry about this too much. The point is, most of our services are actually active in Google, but we just have received this Office 365 access. Also, I do not intend to fully migrate. I just selectively use certain services and not other services. I just want to tell you that. However, having said that, if I decide that I want to actually migrate my email away to Office, like this needs to change. And these entries will not go to Google in that case, but they will go to Office, as in Microsoft, which means I need to go here and let me log in again. How many times do I have to log in? These guys, they just log me out. So I'm logging in again, and you will see that Office tells me that you need to change your DNS entries. That's what the settings are actually asking me to do. And so somewhere in here, Office is telling me that you want to set up your domains. And here, the setup seems complete. If I check my DNS, it will fail because it tells me that I need to have my MX record need to point to Outlook.com. But that is not the case. No, it is not the case. They want my MX record to point to Outlook.com, but I don't want to do it. I want to keep it with what I have, which is, where do I have it? I have it at Google.com. That's what Google told me. And that is my answer in the answer section in my zone file. And that is why my email continues to go to Google. If you decide to change and migrate to Office, you need to make an MX entry change. Like this needs to change. And in that place, you need to use what Microsoft tells you to use, which is they want you to tell, if you want to use Exchange email, you need to use these settings. But I'm ignoring them. I said, yeah, I know, I understand what I'm doing. Please don't prompt me to keep modifying these things. I'm not changing it for you because I don't intend to. Now, if I run the DNS check again, it will start complaining. It says, errors highlighted below. And the step-by-step instructions are that you remove Google and put Outlook there. Yeah, whatever. I'm not doing it. Same thing. It says currently your TXT record for Sender Protection Framework, SPF. That's what the other type of record that I talked about, which is useful for reducing spam. You remember I talked about this record called SPF somewhere ahead. So we'll describe that briefly now. The idea was that we discussed in the zone file, we discussed A record, we discussed CNAME record, we talked about MX record. Now we are talking about the SPF record. Now in this record type, the idea that Google is wanting us to do is what is already done here. And that is the record available in this section. And that is the record we have. And I'll elaborate on that as to what it means in just a second.
So this is not the SPF sun protection?
No, it is not sun protection factor. No, it is sender policy framework, not sun protection factor. So this sender policy framework needs to be in form of a TXT record, by the way. There is, just to confuse everybody, there is a SPF record type also. But this one is deprecated. So everybody is now using the TXT record type to store SPF. That is something just to confuse the heck out of everybody. That's the thing that you need to remember, that there is a record type called SPF, which is not what you use for SPF. Amazing, but that's how it is. And we use the TXT record type to store SPF information. And here, the idea is to include these names of servers mentioned in line number 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 that I have. And then at the end, I have this tilde all in line number 14. That's what I currently have, but Microsoft is telling me, remove all that and use this line, please. Okay, what does that mean? So let us compare the two. So Microsoft says, don't use that, use my line if you want to use my services, and use this instead. And also it says dash all. What does that mean? So there is a distinct meaning to these tildes and dashes and all that. So there is a note mentioned somewhere here in our somewhere here you will find in DNS records, SPF and all that, you will find the exact meaning of these things. What does plus mean? What does dash mean? What a question mark mean and a tilde mean? And there are 4 different scenarios for the dash, note, dash all. So you read that later on, and I'll briefly talk about it. The idea is, by the way, that was module number 7, SPF, Sender Policy Framework. That's what we are talking about. Now, the idea is that these flags are indicative of whether, how permissive can you be. Now, let us, before we talk that thing, I want to help you understand. Lines number 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. These are the machines that are authorized to send emails out to people from the domain Cloud Genius. Meaning line number 8, this one tells everybody that if the email is coming from Google machines, assume that they are coming from Cloud Genius, and it is okay. If the machine is coming, the email is coming from this location, line number 9, it is okay. Trust me that this email is actually being sent by Cloud Genius, even though it appears to be coming from mcsv.net, and that is okay. Same, line number 10. Email seems to be coming from mandrillapp.com, but you want me to say it is coming from Cloud Genius? And the answer is yes, it is okay. And who's deciding these things? Me, because it is my domain. And I'm saying that if the email is coming from these boxes, trust them as if I am sending them. Whereas Microsoft is now saying, you know, if email is coming from outlook.com, trust that to be coming from Cloud Genius. And that is also, by the way, okay. And I can, in principle, include that line like this. And Microsoft will be happy, but not completely happy, because Microsoft wants me to use this dash option, which means remain strict. Remain strict, as in, if the email appears to be coming from any other location, please don't drop it in the spam box. Whereas this tilde says, be permissive, be accommodative. And the exact word is, discouraged. Mail may be legitimately originating from IP addresses not identified. However, use of such IP address is discouraged. So I am not being very, very strict. But the suggestion from Microsoft is, this domain sends email only from Outlook.com. Everything else is trash. That's what it means. Now, you may have seen an email that comes to you, and I'm going to do that right now. So for example, if any of you have a Gmail address, let's see, most of you do, I'm going to just send you an email. Or rather, open this email that I sent earlier today. You may have it already in your inbox. So open this. And in that email that you've seen already, I would like you to click on it and see if you find a little triangle. The triangle looks like this. And this little triangle that I'm seeing from this SMS message that I have, this triangle in Gmail, you should click. And there you will find this idea of mailed by. And you will find that it says that the email is mailed by Cloud Genius. If the email is coming from me, you will see in your inbox, in Google, in Gmail, when you click this triangle little button here on your computer, in your Gmail, in this location, you will find mailed by, and it will say Cloud Genius. Does it say that? Is what I would like you to tell me. I think it does. Please confirm. And that is what you see in this SPF business, where it is basically validating that any email that seems to come from Google, treat them as if it is coming from Cloud Genius. That's what line number 8 is saying. And then there are other services that I use that I send email from, and so I have marked them as permitted. And that's where this TXT record is used to convey and communicate sender policies for who can send on behalf of me. And so an email that comes out, for example, this one that you saw. So I just want to hear from at least one of you that you actually see this thing called mailed by.
Yep, I've seen it. It's coming from Cloud Genius.
Okay, so that mailed by comes from the fact that this email that I just sent, the email that I send like this has that little triangle that shows up here that it was mailed by Cloud Genius. So it is a factor that is getting pulled up by the mail system from the TXT record that I have placed here in our DNS. And so let us find out what TXT records do we actually see, whereas what TXT records Outlook found when I was trying to set up. Hey, give me a second. I think I have an emergency. So stand by for a minute. Stand by, please. Please stand by. There is an emergency here. Give me a second. I'll be back in a few minutes. Probably 2 minutes. Please stand by.
Yeah, take care, no problem. Yeah, we just heard some noise.
Yeah, something went wrong. Hold on. Hey guys, I'm back. I hope you can still hear me. I think you do. It is not muted, right?
Yeah, I hear you.
Okay, good, good.
Yeah, we can hear you.
We can hear you.
Good.
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah, thank you, thank you. So
Everything okay?
yeah, there is an emergency, and my wife is going out to the emergency room. So my son is taking her, which is fine. So it is close by here, and I will be also heading there after this session. So no need to. We don't need to break the session. We can keep going after that. I will head there. So what I was talking about is this thing that I have here, which is the SPF record entry, which is created in form of a TXT file, a TXT type record. That is what Microsoft is suggesting that we include. So if we decide to choose Microsoft services, I will take this line and maybe make it a reference in place of Google and include that. Now this line number 9 comes from the fact that I use MailChimp services for emailing out for promotional mails. That's what this line is for notification messages that go out for promotional purposes. Line number 10 comes from the fact that when this service that I have running here, for example, this one, when you mark some message, some lesson that you read from here and you mark it complete, it sends me notifications saying that you did. And that notification might arrive in my inbox that might look like, let's see, I usually delete them, but an example would be here. Somebody tells me that Tosin just completed module number 6. So that's a notification coming from my machine to me. And those notifications are mailed by MailChimp. And that method is what I have indicated in line number 10, which is I'm saying that if mail messages are coming from Mandrill, that is a service that I use to send out notification messages. That is also considered as valid Cloud Genius messages if this line exists in the SPF record in the DNS entry for SPF. Same for SendGrid, same for Zendesk, same for Mailgun. Probably these are too many. And so I don't need to have all these. I can probably live with 2 or 3 or maybe 4, but I'm probably overkilling it. But that's okay. It doesn't hurt. In a big picture, it doesn't hurt. technically it is too much, too many of these services. So 2 to 3 to 4 are probably okay. Now, having said, that's the idea behind this record type. In quick and short summary, what this does is that if you have your name identified as something that is marked as a valid SPF record, then the mail receiving entity, like Gmail, for example, in this case, is marking that you seem to be sending from some domain, domain.com, and that domain seems to have an SPF entry in the zone file for your DNS server. And it uses this box from some company XYZ to send your email. Then as long as this box in the XYZ company is listed as a part of SPF, then this email that Gmail receives being sent from domain.com is treated as coming from domain.com. The treatment or validation, cannot write properly. Validation. This happens from the fact that it is considered coming from this company, even though the actual box that sends email out may belong to some other location, some other company with a random IP address. As long as that IP address is a part of the SPF record for this domain, it is treated as coming from the domain.com. Whatever you have here is what will be marked as valid. And then you have these policies on top, the tilde policy, the dash policy, the plus policy, and the question mark policy. These policies are defined in module number 7 in the write-up here, which is what you see mentioned here. These policies, yes means yes, you may, plus means yes, please allow, even if it is not identified. So basically plus means allow the spammers. Plus means mail may legitimately originate from IP addresses that are not identified. That means okay for spam. No, dash, no means not, absolutely not okay. If you send spam, it will be dropped and discarded. Question mark means we don't know. Should we keep it or not? We don't know. We are undecided. And then tilde means we discourage it, but in the future, we may turn this tilde into a negative dash, meaning strictly no. So we discourage it. And that discourage tilde is one of the methods that I currently use. I might change it to dash in the future, at which time it will become even more strict. And that's what you see when you run this command on the terminal, like here. And you see that this long TXT record is an indicator of Central Policy Framework for the Cloud Genius domain that includes so many different machines as allowed to send email on behalf of Cloud Genius. And that's the quick short summary of what we discussed in DNS. You should read more about those things in module number 7, which is what we have here in the DNS concepts, A record, MX record, SPF records, and there are more record types. There are, by the way, there are more described here. And we will use some of them, not all of them, at variety of states in a variety of examples, as you will see coming up. I think you should review module number 7 maybe next time or in the next couple of days. If there are any questions that you still have on DNS, you should bring it up. And an ideal exercise to do would be something like this, that you, an exercise to do on your own is to get a domain and map it to Google services. This is free for 30 days. That will give you a decent idea on how email, calendar, sites, intranet sites and all the collaboration, Google Hangouts, and all these things that actually work on related to a domain, they will all work correctly if you succeed in mapping your purchased domain to either Google services or map it to Office 365. Again, free for 30 days, I think. And try that as an exercise on your own to give you hands-on experience on DNS with a variety of productivity and collaboration software from these two companies, the big ones, Google here and Microsoft here. That will give you a decent understanding of how these things actually work out. The challenge is that unless you're actually setting up your own business, these things are not going to be free beyond 30 days. So in that case, you need to make sure that you don't renew so that they don't charge you. But the goal is to learn what are the things or the settings, mostly DNS related, that are needed to make things work on a domain that you buy, and then you edit your DNS to manage these mappings. So for example, mapping it to Google or mapping it to Office 365 is what you will accomplish. In case of Office, you will set up Skype for Business instead of Google Hangouts. So one of those two alternatives, you will see Word, Excel, PowerPoint, Word, Excel, PowerPoint. Those tools will start to activate and work with your domain. You will also see if you're using Google services, Google Docs, spreadsheet, and presentations on your domain will activate and start function as you complete the setup. And I think I will leave that as an exercise. We need to run it right now in form of a real live example, but I suggest that you try them out because this is going to give you a good, decent understanding of how to configure active live services of a variety of different types from two big name companies and map it to your domain. So that is something that I'm leaving as an exercise that I suggest that you do on your own. And here is that exercise. I'm going to paste it in your Slack chat. So you have the exercise for you. It is, I must say, not mandatory. Our goal with exercises is to make sure that you do these because you want to, not because I said so. And that's a critical distinction between what I would like to call out. In most programs, most training programs that you will see, that you will find that the instructor, the course, the college will make you do things. I don't believe in that. I don't force homework on people. I don't do that because I never liked it when people did it to me, so I don't do it to others. The idea behind homework and assignment is that you will do it because you want to, not because I told you to. That doesn't make sense to me. So I'm not saying that you have to do it, but I'm suggesting that you do it because you will actually understand. And if you run into issue, you ping me on Slack, just like Muhammad just did. By the way, there are two Muhammads, so I should disambiguate. We have two Muhammads. So we have Mo Salam and we have Mo Munir. So is it okay, Munir, if I call you Munir, or you prefer any other name?
No, either one is good. That's fine with me.
Okay. So Munir and Salam, that's the name I would go with. We also have two Srinivases, as you know. We have a Srinivas, so we call him Sama. And the other Srinivas is we just call him Sri. That's the disambiguation I'm going with, which is kind of a strange thing. We have it never happened to me before, but we now have same sounding names, slightly different spellings though, but with us. So that's awesome. So again, homework is not a requirement. It's crazy, but that's how it is. Not required. It is suggested, but strongly recommended. And I would actually love if you do it because I want you to understand. If you know it, if you know these things already by like left and right, you know what DNS is. You don't have to worry about doing it. I don't want you to get bored doing it. I want you to actually learn by doing it. And that's my idea. So you have the homework in Slack chat. I just said that. Let's move. Different topic. The question from Salam is about AAAA record, and that is very similar to A record. It is just IPv representation.
Okay.
So it's very similar. It is also mentioned on the site somewhere. So read that. But if not, we will discuss. It should be on the site. Now, having said, let us let me quickly check if the emergency situation that I have here, whether the people in my family have actually left. I need them to go, and they have not seen. I haven't heard the vehicle going out towards the emergency room, so I need to check that. Hold on, please. One more thing. I think they have left. So they have.
Nilesh,
Yeah, I mean,
Nilesh, why not we stop the class today and you take care of the emergency?
yeah, we can do it tomorrow, Nilesh. I mean, it's not a,
Yeah, in the emergency.
I mean,
Why not you?
I can also go pray.
So here is my idea. So I want to make sure that you are actually good with that. So let us open the calendar. My calendar for tomorrow is looking like this. So essentially, I am open all day. So tomorrow is Tuesday, which is this timing. So I would like to ask you, we have a class scheduled for tomorrow from 5 o'clock, which is already there as a replacement for the 8th, on which we moved it to this day. So my question is, do we want to start a little bit early and go longer? Or how do you want to adjust that? That's what I want to make sure that I do want to cover.
You can do like a half hour more and another day half hour more. I mean, or either way, right? Like instead of 3 hours.
Yeah. Whichever is easy and convenient for you, Nilesh. I mean,
I think I want to make sure that I adjust the timing according to what you can actually join. So if you are not able to join, there is no point, right? That's what I'm asking essentially. So this replacement session that we have for tomorrow, should we change the start time to any other time, like say 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock? Does that work?
I think with me and
Go longer?
doesn't matter.
Add 1 hour, 2 hours. How much time you want to add? I have no problem.
Yeah, me neither. Whatever convenient to you, so do it. So if you want to start 1 hour early, that's fine to me. If convenient to everybody, that's not an issue. So if you have any emergency, please take care of yourself.
So is it okay if we start say 3 o'clock tomorrow in Pacific time zone?
It works for me.
3 o'clock will be too early for me because I'm still going to be at work. But I can try to get here by 4.
yeah, let's target for 4, I think. Yeah.
Okay. So should we start at say 4 o'clock and keep going until as long as say 9 or 10? Is that too much?
Wow.
I'm asking. I'm not saying we do. I'm just asking. So
I think we can go as 4 to 8, or and then we'll do if you need another half hour later.
Fair enough. So 4 to 8, let's plan that, and we'll add more hour, one more hour the next couple of days, next couple of sessions, and make sure that I actually cover the things that I want to. That is my idea. So I am suggesting that we meet tomorrow at 4 and go a little bit beyond 8 if possible. But I don't have to keep you long sessions can be really boring, and I understand it. So I don't want to make it boring at all. But I want to thank you for your accommodation.
Yeah.
And we will
you should
tomorrow at 4.
Yeah, I think you should rush to the emergency, take care of emergency
I
thing.
will do that. and I want to thank you. I will stop the recording right now and create a recording file that will pop up in the same folder that you have seen. And I will see you tomorrow at 4 o'clock Pacific time, which is going to be, please translate into California time, the same time, 4 o'clock. And in Toast, it will be 7, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks,
Right,
Nilesh.
that's fine. Thank you.
Oh, good luck.
Yes,
Take care.
Thank you. Take care.
And so I will now pause, stop recording,
Yep.
and see you guys tomorrow at 4.
Okay.